I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thursday, August 7th, 2025, the Committee as a Whole Finance and Administrative Meeting. Ms. Coakley, will you please call roll?
Ms. Martin?
Here.
Mr. Green? Here. Ms. Hanson? Here. Ms. Rutherford? Ms. Fauntleroy? Here. Mr. Harrell? Ms. Moore? Here. Dr. Peterson?
Here.
Ms. Baker? Ms. McCullum? Here. Ms. Lamy? Here. Ms. Hurstis? Mr. Breaux? Mr. Kuzan? Here. Ms. Rufino-Gallagher?
Next, we will have the invocation by Dr. Peterson, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and praise for this day and the opportunity to serve our community. And we pray for our community as they embark on the opening of school this year, which has already begun. And we trust with your hand upon us that you will lead us in your grace and keep us safe from all harm and evil. And we ask that you bless our families as well as our teachers, our students, and our administrators. And let us do the good work that we have before us. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have any board members that want to recognize any visitors? No? All right, moving.
Ms. Hanson?
Ms. Hanson?
Just real briefly, I'd like to recognize a former student of mine, cheerleader at Hudson High School, who I'm now officially too old to, but she is in the audience. Cassie, McLean. I couldn't remember your married name, so Cassie McLean. I'll be Cassie McLean.
Ms. Gallagher?
I can't find it on my phone because this is where I save stuff, so I can remember to say it at these meetings. But it is some of the kids from, I'm not going to just say North Shore because it might not have just been North Shore, were in the AAU track. And Grace Keene from North Shore High School, I know came in first, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I'm not taking your thunder, Frank.
No, you didn't.
So 4 of the kids from the Panthers were qualified and competed at the AAU Junior Olympics in Houston. I do know that Grace Keene placed first in her age group and I believe broke a personal record.
She did.
And so congratulations to all of them.
All right. Next, we have the superintendent's update.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Before we kind of get into some of, we've got a couple of videos to share with you. Just, I'm going to kind of rewind a little bit. Me and Ms. Strataberger, along with a lot of staff from around the district, attended the LDO Gala, where 3 of our employees were recognized. It was truly an honor. I'm going to start off with Jeff Polito. Jeff Polito is a talented theater teacher at Fontainebleau High School. He was recognized for the community service that he does with action, the leadership he provides, the help he provides with our students that unfortunately make poor decisions at school a lot of times, and his group mentors those kids. But Jeff won the Community Coffee State Community Service Award, which is absolutely amazing. He was the only one recognized in the entire state of Louisiana for what he gives back to the students of St. Tammany. And that came with $2,500 check to his foundation, to his group, to his organization, and free coffee for the faculty and staff in the lounge for 1 year from community. So he's a very popular guy at Fontainebleau right now. So Jeff, if you're watching, Jeff is just a great person. I couldn't think of a better person. I couldn't wait for him to be recognized. So I'm just truly thankful to him, what he does for our young kids. It used to be called, if y'all remember, it used to be called Pride, and they rebranded. But they've been working with the leadership of our schools for years and helping our kids that unfortunately make some poor decisions on their journey. Also, Beth Melton was recognized. She is the only fellow in the state of Louisiana She basically has been given $50,000 by the state of Louisiana, LDOE, to do some innovative things in her classroom that culminate at the end, and they're going to track her kids' progress aligned to what we do in our district, but she's going to do some extra things and some innovative ideas with them, and we're truly excited about her having that partnership, and our kids get recognized, her work gets recognized. And if you'll remember, Beth was the semifinalist state teacher of the year last year with LDOE. So she's at Bayou Woods, and we are extremely happy for her accomplishments and what she's got going on. And then Christian Munson was recognized. He was a finalist for Principal of the Year, and it was just a great turnout. It was 3 tables of St. Tammany. Jeff had his group that was with him, and then with Christian and Beth, we had 2 tables. So it was about 30 people, and St. Tammany showed out, and it was great. There was a lot of yelling and screaming for a lot of our people, and it was a great night. And I really appreciate Representative Carver came to represent the Mandeville learning community, which was absolutely amazing. So I just appreciate him being there and being part of the celebration. Rewind also to admin conference. We've had a tremendous start to the school year, but that all started with admin conference. I think our principals, especially our new administrators, got some time to really network and us to kind of talk about how we're going to roll things out, and then us not pulling our teachers away during their PD days at school really gave them time to spend on their campus to really get organized. It's just the nature of the beast. We have, over the years, with a lot of the curriculum adjustments and alignments, we've had to pull teachers. We have to pull them when we have them, and that's PD. But we really made an effort this year to leave them on their campus and really let them bond with each other, and I really think that's paid off. And then now, to kick off the school year, the Slidell Learning Community does a tremendous pep rally to kind of celebrate and to kind of get the year kicked off. So let's check out a little video of the Slidell Learning Community pep rally.
This is a celebration of the community, and it really is a great way to kick off the year with all of us celebrating, because really in this learning community there is a sense of family, and it just means more in the Slidell learning community.
This learning community coming together just shows so much school pride, so much pride in the community. All these learning, feeder school learning community, entire learning community has come together and just brought the energy together. They share, they work with each other. I'm just so proud of the collaboration that's taking place here.
This is something that's a product of years of work in this school community. We're very close-knit as principals, as leaders of the school, and we share a common goal, which is just to provide the best for our community and our students, and that's really awesome for us to come together and celebrate that with this event each year.
So powerful for our community. The schools don't see themselves as one school. We just see ourselves as really a Slidell High family. It builds the teachers up. I mean, all these kids that were speaking today, cheerleaders, they went to like all our elementary schools.
All of these teachers and the ones in between have shaped who I am becoming.
Teachers don't just teach facts or help us pass tests. They teach us how to face challenges. They teach us how to keep trying when things get tough.
And it just kind of peps us back up, to get in there and give it another great year.
Truly, it's such a super event, and George kind of took over the event. He was kind of the MC, and they go around the gym, and every campus stands up, and they do like a song. They appropriate and inappropriate, but they do a song, and they all had a little something. One of the schools had the fans, one of the schools had whistles, another one made it rain with some fake money. It was just, when I talked to them, I said, y'all are the reason why Carnival Cruise Line banned all those things from their cruises. So it was just really fun. But they were into it and going around, and the kids that spoke, from the different campuses. They had 3 students speak, and they did a tremendous job of kind of telling the faculty and staff why they make a difference in the kids. It was a great day. So I appreciate the Slidell community putting that together. It's just a great way to kind of kick off the school year. And then we started with our school visits, and it's been a whirlwind. The last 2 mornings, getting up at 3 to be on campus 4:45 to meet the news media. But the great thing is we had coverage from channel 4, 6, and 8. But I'm gonna let Grant play a video real quick, and then we'll kind of chat about that.
Class is in session here in St. Tammany Parish. We're going to speak with the superintendent about another great school year.
It's just great to be here at Sloan Middle this morning to kick off the day, kind of getting on the news and doing those things. It just brings excitement. You know, we spend a lot of time preparing. We'll get the other half of the kids tomorrow and rocking and rolling. So we're off to a good start. Getting ready for first days and what we need to kick off school year. Hey guys, how are y'all doing? But just to be here with the kids is why I do this job. So it's just fantastic to be here with them.
I'm very excited to start a new school year because I get new opportunities. I get to start over, maybe take some new jobs, and help other kids around the school.
Good to see you guys. Y'all having a good first day? Awesome.
I loved having Mr. Jabia here on campus for our students to have that nice little surprise. It was great to see him.
I'm excited to see my friends and see them experience new things in 6th grade, and nice to see them in new classes.
Make sure, like I said, that y'all have everything you need moving forward. I think it's just important they see me and they feel like they can have a conversation with me and that I'm just a person.
While it might be the first day of school for our students, our teachers and staff, we've been at it for several weeks getting everything ready. It's been pretty exciting, it's been awesome, and everybody's been on board.
It was very cool to have the superintendent visit us. I didn't expect him to walk in, I didn't expect him to come into the classroom, but it was pretty cool.
I want to be around kids and celebrate with the kids. Every time they achieve something, I want to be part of that celebration.
It's been a really good start. I have to focus on the positives. You know, we all have our little hiccups and things we deal with on our campuses, but overall, the faculty, staff, parents have said what a smooth start it's been, and I really think it's been the preparation, the ability for those teachers and faculty members to be prepared for the start of school. So it's been very smooth. Lewis and IT have done a great job of pushing and trying to take some of the paperwork off of parents, and we've pushed as many forms we could to the parent portal through JPAMS, and he told me that so far 445,000 forms have been submitted electronically to where parents didn't have to take them home and fill them out. And I just remember those days, and that packet would come home and you didn't think it was ever going to end. And so to be able to do some of those things electronically and get that off of the parents' plate and then be able to upload it. I was telling Lewis earlier, as a principal, I just remember in homeroom collecting all those forms and then having to sort them and alphabetize them and then scan them. It takes so much off of our clerical and our administrators at the schools that have to do those things and do those chores. So that's a huge, huge help. But everyone has made it so wonderful the last few days. And they'll hear it in my Friday email tomorrow. But transportation, I called Matt yesterday. I was monitoring the radio yesterday. I didn't do it today because I was driving here. But I was on the radio, and what transportation has done, and I just really quickly want to explain, like transportation, especially the first days, a lot of parents want to be part of the drop-off on the first day, and I get it. That it's a great thing to let your kids get out of the car on the first day. It's a wonderful experience. But going home, normally they take the bus home. Well, our younger students that travel, they don't know where they live. They may know their address, they may not. So the bus drivers get those kids. They're not familiar with them. They didn't ride the bus home, but yet we delivered everybody safely. And it was a challenge. It is a challenge to start every school year until the drivers learn these kids, know where they live, know their families. You know, some kids are new, some kids have moved from one school to another. So it's just a new experience. So I just appreciate everybody from, the school food service who is doing breakfast and lunch for the first time to transportation, finishing the day. It takes everybody doing it, and I just really appreciate the amount of time that's been put into the start, and we look forward to tomorrow having everybody. So we're excited. Tomorrow is, I get a little bit of a break. I get to start at 7. So I'm sorry. We're on at 7 at the Covington Walmart for Pack the Bus. One of our drivers is going to be there. As soon as she finishes her route, she's going to come over there and meet us. But we've got Pack the Bus. I think it's Fox 8 that's going to be there, and it's school supplies drive. And we've gotten tons of donations, and we've been packing the bus. So we'll be in front of the Covington Walmart at 7, and then after that, I'll do 4 schools. So that'll be 12 schools in the first 3 days for me popping in and visiting. So over my time as superintendent, I'll have been to every campus for one of their start days, whether it's early, like the safe start day or the traditional all start. So I'm really happy about making that. I appreciate Meredith and the team helping me do that, accomplish that. Channel 13 that's been there with me, Christian that's been with me, and Meredith that's been with me. So I appreciate it. Today was great. Pearl River got spotlighted this morning by the news. Band, cheer, dance was on there. Lighthouse team, Tracy was on to talk about it. So it was a great kickoff this morning, even though it was very early. But it was good. It was good. So if y'all have any questions, I'll sure answer any questions if I can.
Any questions from board members? Ms. Lamy?
I just want to say I got a text message about the online forms. And I was able to do them all for all the kids online. It's the best thing ever. If you have anything to do with that, thank you. But I will relay the message.
That's awesome. Yeah, someone communicated with Lewis, said that there is a God. That's what they said. So honestly, especially, I know Miss Martin's got a handful of children. That's a lot of paperwork to fill out. So to be able to help parents get that done, submitted, they don't have to worry about their kids bringing it back. It's done. When they hit the button, it's done. So it's a tremendous help. So thank you to Lewis and his team for making that happen.
I will say the only thing that I heard, there was a few bugs in it that everybody figured out, but they were like, for people like Amanda, if we could do it for same as child number 1 and not having to type it all out, that'd be great. That's the only thing I heard was if I could only had this button, which I'm sure is so much harder than it is, but it was right. I did fill mine out by hand because they were sitting on my kitchen table and I was like, I'll just do them by hand and everybody else did them online, but many people said that was so much better.
Good. Wonderful.
All right, next we have the approval of minutes for the committee meeting held on July 10th, 2025. Do I have a motion? Mr. Green, do I have a second? Ms. McCollum? Any public comments? Comments from the board? Please vote. And that passes unanimously. Next is the administrative update. Mr. Alfonso.
Thank you, Ms. Martin, Superintendent Jabby, and board. Administratively, we have a few updates. Obviously, with the start of school, administration is very busy. The first thing I'd like to discuss, bring it to your attention, as you are aware, is our dealing with our copiers and our new contract with R.J. Young. The administration understands the issues that we are presented with, and we are working very hard to rectify the situation. I spoke to few of you, about what's going on, but I just want to give all of you an update. And also, a board member did request the information. Ms. Prevost put it together in an email for me, and I sent it to you guys via email. So that's in your email if you have not seen it. So I've been communicating with our contact. By Saturday this weekend, we'll have 234 copiers out. That's what our contract calls for. So all machines will be out. Now, some of these will be loaners. So next week, they're going to work to backfill to have permanent machines, the permanent machines at school. They're running 4 trucks tomorrow and 4 trucks Saturday. Through the backfill, they're going to pick up those loaners. The loaners that you're seeing that some people are complaining about, and we understand, they're complaining, it's smaller machines. They're going to get their real machines. Also, I communicated with the guy because we should never run out of toner. I addressed that. But the toner that's running out is because other schools, principals are working together and they're running copies for other schools. So we'll run out of toner quicker. So he's overnighting, which we'll have at central office, backup toner, and he's overnighting toner to some schools that ran out. So that's going to happen tomorrow. You know, the company has been great. You know, it's just a massive contract, and we are working to rectify the situation, and we do understand what principals and teachers are going through right now regarding copies, but we're working to fix it. The following items were reviewed with administrators, as Superintendent Jabbia discussed, prior to the opening of school. We talked about safety and security a lot during our administrative meetings. I got to thank Mr. Bob Donnell. He coordinated with law enforcement the Act 50 drills. That's our lockdown with law enforcement. That will happen at the beginning of school during the first 30 days of school. And also Meredith has communicated with all of our administrators the robocall that will go out to parents, so all that's crafted and ready to go. One other thing we discussed was the importance of conducting 10 fire drills and reporting them on our rapid responder website. Mr. Bob Donnell pushes that real hard, and we reinforce that. We also discussed the importance of preventative maintenance. You know, a lot of maintenance issues that we have deal with some people not staying on top of things. So we worked on preventative maintenance and how to properly report those issues to maintenance in a timely manner so we can jump on those things. Gary Hoover was kind enough, who's here tonight, was kind enough to provide, it's an executive content, a list of projects that were completed this month for the start of school. So if you have any question, I can answer some, and also Mr. Hoover's here. Ms. Lalane's here, but I said, I always send out an email. I say, are there any updates our department? Anybody has anything they need me to tell the board? She said, just let them know we're ready to go. So that's good with food services. So that's my administrative update. Any questions? Staff's here, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? Ms. Gallagher?
I didn't hear of any, so we didn't have any AC issues, hiccups like we did last year?
No, not at all. Gary and his staff did a great job. We had one. Shada Ema had one. It was just in the main office. Their staff got out portables, and they replaced a condenser today, so they're up and running.
Well, one is better than what we'd had
And then
last year, yeah.
I just
so
addressed
good.
Mr. Kuzan because I know he asked about Brock a lot. Brock has been a challenge AC-wise, but this summer they worked on where they installed window units, and they're up and running also, so they're good right now.
I want to give a shout out to the maintenance department.
Yes.
That and
Yes, sir. Thank you.
very good job. I want to thank them.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Peterson?
Yeah, Mr. Alfonso, you did say that every school will have printers after this weekend,
Yes, sir.
even if either loaner or the original, you know, that they're supposed to get.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Mr. Alfonso. Next, Ms. Tipton?
Our first item is recommendation for substantial completion of Folsom Elementary School walk-in cooler freezer. St. Tammany Parish School Board project number is 314, P0314, and that is subject to the architect recommendations, submission of all regulatory requirements, and approval of Superintendent Jabbia.
Do I have a motion? Ms. Gallagher, do I have a second? Ms. Fauntleroy? Any public comments? Any questions from the board? Would everyone please vote? And that passes unanimously. And I apologize, Ms. Fauntleroy, I should have let you make that first motion.
Our next item is recommends acceptance of St. Tammany Junior High School termite repairs at gymnasium locker room, St. Tammany Parish School Board project number P0514, as substantially complete, subject to the architect recommendations, submission of all regulatory requirements, and approval of Superintendent Jabbia.
Do I have a motion? Mr. Kuzan. Do I have a second? Ms. Lammy? Any public comments? Comments from board members? Everyone please vote. And that passes unanimously. Next is the recommendations of the Screening and Evaluation Committee.
Yes, ma'am. I want to begin by providing an overview of this committee and the process for those who may have not experienced this with us previously. The recommendations of the Screening and Evaluation Committee are as indicated in the attached memo on board docs. These recommendations are for each of the 26 projects outlined in the capital improvement plan for the 2025 bond referendum, and this is relative to firms to provide services for project design through involvement during construction and project closeout. The firms recommended and the school board will enter into contracts for professional design services for these capital improvement projects. These firms are Louisiana licensed professional architectural firms, and they are required by contract and as is typical to the industry to provide for other licensed design professionals as part of the design team to provide required related services such as engineering in the disciplines including civil, structural, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, fire protection, as well as landscape architecture, and where applicable, acoustic consultants and food service consultants. The team of professionals for each project is involved in every stage of the design and building process, from initial concept design to regular observation and administration during construction of the project. The team will work with the school board staff and the school administrations to understand the consideration and project requirements of the campus and the district. The design team will translate this information to create drawings and documents that communicate the design intent, expectations concerning phasing and timelines, quality standards, and technical details, and those will be given to regulatory agencies such as the fire marshal and building permit departments for review and approval, and to the owner, the contractor, and many others. They will work to accomplish this within the budgets established for the project. These documents ultimately become the contract for all aspects and considerations of a project for a licensed and bonded general contractor to follow in the physical work to make those documents become a physical reality on the school campus or building site. The process for selection of these teams is qualification-based. Notice of the request for qualifications and the information regarding how to obtain the RFQ packet of information was advertised in the school board's official journal. The advertisement was also posted on the St. Tammany Parish School Board's website and on central bidding, and was sent to the Louisiana American Institute of Architects and the St. Tammany Chamber of Commerce. The advertisement appeared in the official journal starting May 28, 2025, and the deadline for submittal of the qualification statements was July 1, 2025. The school system received response qualification statements from a total of 45 design teams. Design teams could apply for all or a selection of the 26 projects. There were 4 bankers boxes full of responses for each committee member to go through to review and evaluate. These responses received were for the most part extremely well prepared, and the quality of the responses were notable. It takes considerable time and effort to prepare the responses to the RFQ and to meet our deadline. We are very appreciative of the level of interest of so many professional firms in working with St. Tammany Parish Public Schools. There are many firms with impressive talent and projects locally and in this region. And that said, some firms have more attributes that fit the criteria utilized to score and rank the qualification statements received than others. The qualification statement responses are, in effect, a written interview with many questions which are evaluation criteria and have associated point values that are utilized as a method of scoring. The evaluation criteria includes questions such as key personnel, educational background, project experience, both general, relative to certain budget values of projects, and specific relative to project experience for similar work. Other questions included workload and staffing, qualification of the consultants on the team knowledge and experience with work in St. Tammany Parish itself, as well as within specific local permitting jurisdictions, and prior experience with the project school site. Also included in consideration was the physical location of the firm and key personnel relative to St. Tammany Parish. All of the 26 projects were evaluated separately, and considerations for each project were part of the evaluation criteria overall. I must say it takes a lot of time to read, review, and score these responses. The screening and evaluation committee members are appointed by the superintendent and include St. Tammany Parish School Board staff, as well as including community members who have connection or background that provides an understanding of design and construction. These community members are not actively doing or seeking contract work with the school system. Each committee member reviewed and evaluated all responses for each project, and we did that independently. When we came together in meetings, they were held as public meetings. School Board Council and Louisiana PTA President attended in advisory capacities. In the meetings, scores for each applicant and for each project were recorded, and an average score for each firm for each project was calculated. The committee recommended award to the highest scoring firm for each project, with a backup of the second highest scoring firm should the recommended firm not be able to undertake the contract award for some reason. This is reflected in the recommendations included in that memo. So we are requesting approval of the recommendations of the Screening and Evaluation Committee as indicated on the memo dated August 6th, 2025, for the capital improvement plan projects outlined in the 2025 bond referendum as posted on board docs. And we do want to thank everyone involved in this process for their effort. It takes many people to make this process successful.
Thank you, Ms. Tipton. Do I have a motion? Ms. Moore, do I have a second? Ms. Hanson? Thank you for that. That was very thorough. Provided us with a lot of information. Do I have any public comments? Questions from the board? Ms. Fauntleroy?
It was very thorough, and I'm sure I just missed this, but is there something in the rubric or in the questions that you consider that evaluates like completion of projects on time or within the contract constraints, like for their past projects? Is that a factor that's looked at?
So this is the architect and design
Okay.
teams. We will have project schedules that we work towards and to, but as you probably have noticed, and this is true in design too, as these projects evolve and develop, you find different things that may take a minute. You may have to go get a variance from a local jurisdiction, or the permitting process may take some time, because we do try to get through the jurisdictions ahead enough to know that our permits will be ready for contractors to pick up. That has become a more involved process.
Okay.
So some of these things are not in our hands, but we work as diligently and efficiently as we can.
Do we go through a similar process? Is the rest of the process just a bid process? Or is anything like that considered in the bid process when we're choosing who's going to do these projects? Like, this was really thorough, how you chose these people.
Okay,
And you were, I know you were, yeah, you were able to look at, a lot of factors that were important to us. Do we have the same ability on?
So this is qualifications-based, and we already have an established contract and fee formula. So it's already established. There's no, it's the contractor level, the next level when we bid work and we receive bids.
Do we have control on anything on when we're receiving the bids? Is that all just laid out by state law, how that has to proceed? Or do we have any flexibility in considering who we choose? Or does it just straight up have to be the low bid?
So I'm going to make sure we're still talking, you're asking.
She's
about
asking
the
about
general
contract
contractor, the
phase.
next
Yeah,
step of
next,
this,
not
after this
not the
process.
architects, the next
So-
phase. That just seems to be
So,
where
yeah, so
our
state
problem
law,
comes.
has always historically, or I say always, but it's historically and for a long time been based on design, build, bid, build, design, bid, build. So that's the process you've seen where we advertise for bid and we receive bids and then recommend the lowest responsive, responsible bidder for the general contractor. The public bid law has now expanded, and it's been in place for a little while for a process called CMAR, which is Construction Management at Risk, which does allow for some qualification-based considerations for certain size jobs or types of jobs. So there is some potential for some difference in how that can be handled on some jobs.
Well, I mean, I guess that's good news that, I mean, because we do want to save all the money we can, of course, but, you know, we want to make sure they're going to do the job
Yes.
too. And I know that's the next phase, so I'm sorry I jumped the gun.
No, that's okay. I'm sure that there'll end up being more conversation on that point
Okay.
as we go forward. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Hanson?
So my understanding is that the architect would do all the design, so the next phase, when you do have your contractor submit bids, it would be based on what the architect has designed.
That is correct.
Rosalind, could you hit your mic, please? Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to repeat that. The architect will do the designs based on what y'all sit down with them and the principal and whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. And then from there, once the design, it goes to the contractors and then they bid on based on what they could do. And that's where the cost somewhat comes in. Okay. The next thing is, I saw that, I heard in part of the evaluation was their availability to do the work, which I completely understand. If a firm overextends themselves, then, you know, they're not available to do this work for us. There are, as you said, 26 projects on here. So when you put them in order of what's going to be done when, what if the firm we've selected, you know, that had won based on the point system, is at that point overextended in their design phase? You follow what I'm saying? In other words, let's say we don't get to renovations at Bayou Lacombe Middle until a year from now, and the firm we've selected has already, is then involved in something else with maybe a different parish. In other words, this is going to be like a 5-year process to complete all these projects, correct?
Between design and bidding and constructing overall, this bond issue and the scope and breadth of work that we have will probably take 5 or 6 years to complete, yes.
So, okay,
But
then
we're going to start out looking at all of these jobs, learning what the schools are thinking, talking with them. These firms are going to start work on these. We're going to get all these going.
Okay, well, that's what I wanted to be clear about. Okay, so all of these firms will start designing now, and y'all can
Correct.
work with them on the design. And then when you put a timeline together of when you're going to begin the projects, then the design is done. I mean, you may have to go back to them to have some
We're going to be focused on the
adjustments,
design
but
and the priorities
in the
of the
initial
projects.
phase.
yes.
Okay, that
First.
makes a lot of sense. Thank you. I just didn't understand how that, with so many projects going on.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot.
Okay, well, good. Thank you. Well, I know you, if anybody can handle it, you can.
Mr. Green?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honestly, when I received this list and kind of started crunching some numbers, it was a gut punch to me. I fully appreciate the work that this committee does to evaluate the criteria for these qualifications to do these projects. But it's just a massive amount of projects going to firms outside of St. Tammany when we have so many good qualified firms here in the parish that are capable and willing of doing this work. And when I do kind of my calculations, I kind of crunched this in an Excel sheet, looked at how the bids were given out, what the project scope was. Close to 40% of these projects are going to firms that are headquartered outside of St. Tammany. And I'm just going to pick on one. Holly and Smith receives 51 million plus of projects. And I'm just curious, like, in the rubric, what is ascribed to their local presence? Not like draw a 100, a 50-mile radius or whatever and say that's local, but in St. Tammany, like, how much of that rubric is ascribed to a firm being in St.
The
Tammany?
rubric has probably 18 at least questions and evaluation criteria, and the points are 5 to 10 for the most part. The location of the firm, I believe, was 5 points, but it was also defined as to how those points were applied. The questions that were asked were, is your business, your firm, located physically in St. Tammany Parish? If not, do you have a local, maybe smaller office here, but it's not your main firm? That had points associated with it. If not, are you within 30 miles of the St. Tammany Parish line? Those were given points. And then, is the main person who will be working on this project, do they live in St. Tammany Parish? And another question was, do 50% or more of your employees live in St. Tammany Parish? And all of those had points assigned. So that it was not left open to interpretation for how the points were given.
Okay, because again, my biggest thing, I'm big into local, and my fear is that when we go back out for a bond issue, will these firms, will the public support us again? We in my opinion, got this last bond approved on the margin, and I just don't think we show enough support for our local teams that are doing good work here locally, and there's a bunch. And when I do this math, it looks like we gave $80 million to firms outside of St. Tammany, and it looks like we kind of sprinkled peanuts out to the rest of the local firms, and it's just frustrating, honestly. And I'm not in support of this, because I just don't feel like we've given enough credence to the quality of work that our local St. Tammany firms are doing. And again, I'm frustrated. I feel like I got punched in the gut, as well as probably many of these firms that are here locally that really were looking forward to working with the school system and this huge undertaking of projects. And again, I feel like, for very qualified firms, we just kind of sprinkled a few jobs to make them happy, and for me, that just doesn't cut the mustard. So I'll leave it at that, because it probably is what it is. But I just want to go on record as saying that I don't think we've done enough to support our local architects and the firms involved. So,
Thank you, Mr. Green. Ms. Gallagher?
Microphone.
Sorry. Mine is not going to be as in-depth as Mr. Green, but I appreciate what you did, because I didn't do the research to know that, but it is exactly what you said. All the people who supported this bond are not getting the money back, thinking that maybe that was a chance for them. Maybe that's why they voted for it, because they thought we'd try to keep it inside the thing. Mr. Kuzan was just asking me, so I'll ask you too, like, is there a way to, like, who puts this rubric together? Is it a state thing, a federal thing, or how does that work? To know how this point, all the things you just described, are you in St. Tammany, or workers or whatever, who puts that, like, who makes that?
The evaluation criteria are set forth in some guidelines that have been in place for many years with the school system. We've been through this process many times. It's evolved over the years. I can tell you that the questions have gotten far more specific, and they do come out of the construction department. We don't just ask, how do you handle construction administration in your firm? We say, who's doing that work? How are you making sure that your consultants are going to be on our sites? We get into some very specific questions that we've learned from experience over time that we have considerations about. So we look for answers to some very specific questions, and pretty in-depth.
Okay. So but I guess I'm saying we put together the criteria for the rubric. It's not mandated by the state, so we can adjust it. Like, that's what I'm asking.
Yes. We have a list of criteria. I'll read them to you.
No, I don't need the criteria. I'm asking, like, we created the criteria. It's not like the state
Yes,
says we
it's a-
have to
it's
go
a
by this, we
document
make
Over
our
the
own.
years, it's
Place for a
evolved.
number of years, yes.
And Mr. Green has addressed locals. That was at the end of the last bond issue, that came up quite often, and this board intentionally, this construction staff intentionally put more emphasis and better clarification on what it meant to be local and scoring it correctly. So we've addressed some of those concerns over the years to address Mr. Green's concerns and other board members, previous board members that had similar feelings toward as much local priority as possible. So we've done that. But this rubric is extremely in-depth, extremely thorough, and I have no problem sharing. I think every one of the design teams understands exactly what they're being asked and how it's being scored. It's not scored in a vacuum. Everything is public, done in a public meeting, so that everyone is very clear on, I mean, literally, the people that evaluate, the committee that evaluates, literally have to be there by law and call their scores out in a public meeting. So this is a very transparent process, and we are very thoughtful to make sure that every part of this rubric is very intense. And as Cameron said, we actually deliver the boxes to the individuals that are on the committee, because it was literally 4 bankers boxes worth of RFQs that they had to meticulously go through to score them. So yeah, the rubric is there. It's completely transparent, and everyone knows what those standards are.
Okay, and there's nothing to where, as a board, committee, whatever, however it goes, to say of however much money this is going to cost, we will guarantee that we give 42% to people inside of St. Tammany Parish.
That's not how it works. They
But that- no,
evaluate.
that's what I'm
yeah.
asking. We don't
No,
have-
the committee evaluates every RFQ based on the projects that they've said they want to apply for or be evaluated for.
Okay, as far as the big one is where'd it go? The STEM advanced learning, which, like he said, is the same Holly and Smith, who has 2 other projects on there, because this one, that's a big project. So how, like, does each project have a different length of time that these architects have to have these drawings done by? Or because this is such a massive project, like, it is in steps for them? Because like Ms. Hanson said, like, how long are we giving them to do these projects, like, to do these drawings, I guess?
All of these jobs are going to be a process. And some of that does develop from the stakeholders that we meet with and what it takes to go back and translate, I guess, and make their thoughts into drawings and then proceed with.
You turned it off.
So I'm going to say, I don't want to just put a timeline on it, because I think that the Discovery Center may have quite a bit of input on the front end and a lot of discussion about the vision and what people envision for how that all works physically. And that may take longer to go and work through than maybe getting to a school and working through those things. So every project is going to have its own time frame for this process. But generally speaking, I think this is probably a year, give or take some, on either side of it, depending on how involved the issues are, or how involved we get with each of the projects in terms of figuring out the different unique details of the project.
Okay, and then lastly, I have, and this is my first time doing the architectural side of it. So when you come to us for construction, you say recommendation for the low base bid for company ABC to do this project. And there's never if they don't accept it, we move to the second highest bidder. But on this, every single one of them has the committee recommends acceptance to the second highest scoring if the first one doesn't accept. So these people haven't, like, we think this is who we want, but they haven't accepted it? Like, I guess it's a little different when we do it from.
This committee makes a recommendation to this board. And they recommended the highest scoring firm for the project. But they also saw that there's a lot of work here. And if there's some reason that, and I don't imagine that that's likely to happen, this was just a recommendation of this committee. We've not had that before, but we bring forth the recommendations that come out of the committee, was that if somebody is not able to take the contract, then they wanted to go ahead and put in place a recommendation for the firm that they would recommend as the second.
Okay.
But
And
in
then-
construction also, when we do construction, when
Right,
we
but
give
what I'm
you,
saying is-
but when we give you that list, we recommend, and if they can't do it, then I have to come back to you, and we'd have to move to the second person.
Well, right,
But we
but-
just haven't had to do that.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying, like, it never says, because I mean, that would be logical. If the first person doesn't take it, we shouldn't have to come back and wait another month. We should just have this on all of them. So I'm just wondering why it's only on this, but it's not on construction ones. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, like I said, this is on every single one, so it's just something I'm not used to seeing, so I was just curious as to why it's there. And then, Mr. Green, when you came with the numbers, you're talking about, like, you just pulled the bond list to see how much the values were. Because I was like, did I miss an attachment here somewhere? But, okay, it's from the original list, right? Okay. And those prices are standing firm? Like, whatever we put that we're saying that, or how much do we know how much this design stuff costs? Because I feel like the construction was listed, but how do we know how much this is going to cost?
The fee for the architect and the entire design team, because those architects, you see one name.
Right.
But it represents many design professionals that have to be paid through it. That is a fee formula that is based on that budget. And so it is a calculation. It is based on what is known as the state fee formula.
But do we know, like, I guess once these people commit or accept, then will y'all come back to give us how much these are going to cost?
It's all included in the entire project.
It is. We have a
Oh, it's
total
part of the
project.
project.
And
Okay.
Yes, and we
they
have
are
a-
charged to build within or recommend design within budget. They have to stay, based on their calculations, is this project going to be within budget? They have to bring back something that's within budget.
So-
And that includes theirs also. That includes the entire
So
gamut.
Boy at junior high, $1 million. So their architecture fees and all the construction should be within $1 million.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
Ms. Hanson. Ms. Lammy.
So I remember going through this before, and we had this same issue, and we tried to adjust the rubric, and y'all added all those specific questions. I feel like there may have been something about veteran-owned in there also. Was that for this, or was that a different one? It was something else, but I know we added it.
That's through purchasing.
Okay. So my question is, do you know if we have any second choice? That sounds so terrible. Any runner-ups that are from St. Tammany underneath some of these other ones that are our first choice? So like it said, you'll go to the second. If they don't take it, you'll go to the next highest scorer. Do we have any next highest scorers that are in St. Tammany for somebody who is not in St. Tammany? Does that question make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Do you know if we have some that would be in our parish, actually, that are like the next choice, or not really sure?
I'm sure that there probably are.
Maybe, but you don't know.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, maybe that's something that we could look at instead of having, because obviously, I feel like this is a very transparent process. I feel like y'all are doing everything you're supposed to do and more, not trying to make it more hoops, but I do agree with Matt, doesn't happen very often, but I do, that we really want to invest as much of the money as we can back into our local families and community. Not at the sake of jeopardizing the job, but there are like 3 firms that have 2 or 3 jobs on here. I do love the variety. I will say that. I think that was very impressive because in the past, maybe we didn't have as many, but it seemed like there were just 4 that we rotated between. There's much more variety. I have no doubt that it was done genuinely according to the rubric, but I'm just wondering if there's more priority that should be looked at for our parish. And I mean, maybe only be a couple of us, but I just wanted to throw it out there. I don't know. I just feel like if they're the next in line and the person above them already has another job in our parish, maybe we should consider them first in line just because we've already given somebody else a bit. Does that make sense? Huh? But it should work, because let me explain something. If you're going to give, yeah, you should. If you have one firm that's doing 3 jobs in our parish that are outside of our parish, and they're getting those millions of dollars, but you have another firm that's 2 points below them that's in St. Tammany, yeah, because it's a subjective rubric in some areas. Okay, thank you.
Dr. Peterson?
Well, I guess I just want to make an overall comment, just listening, the comments that everyone has, and I really appreciate the concern. I think the criteria for this process was met, and I'm very much paid attention to the details. And it was based mainly, to me, the most important things, but for whoever does the projects, that they have the capacity to do it, they have previous experience showing that they can and have done successful projects, and they can meet deadlines, because we've had trouble with those things in the past. And I did hear that, I think, a comment that was 40% of the jobs were outside of firms outside of St. Tammany Parish. Well, that means 60% of the job firms who are doing the work are in St. Tammany Parish. So that's not, to me, an unequal pattern. I think that's what we had. Ms. Tipton, did I hear that correctly? Oh, no, it was
Mr. Green.
Mr. Green said that. Yes, sir. He said 40%, 60%. So that is correct, from what I heard. And also under this umbrella that we've established and the criteria that went through, these big firms that we hire that are going to be doing this work, they can also subcontract with companies in St. Tammany Parish still, right?
They could.
They have that capacity. So we still have work that can be done by more companies than are currently done, but it may be under a subcontract title with the original, the company selected. So, but anyway, I thank you so much for paying attention to the detail and following the curriculum that we've set up for this process. And now it's time to get started. You said this work could be completed over approximately a 5-year period. That wasn't,
Probably
that was
5 to 6,
finish it
7, yeah.
within 5 years. It'll be done within 5 years. And the capacity of projects that we have, I'd hate to go through that process again, because it's time to get started.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Kuzan.
Thank you. I too would like to stay as local as possible when everything is equal. I feel that we need to make sure that the firms that actually get the bid can do the bid. That we don't have to go back and resurrect stuff. But every project that we do, am I not correct in saying is brought before this board? Every project that's accepted
That's
is
correct.
brought
It's
before
bid.
this board, right?
Yes, sir. Mhm.
So I just wanted to make that statement. Thank you.
Ms. Hanson.
Thank you for coming back to me. And I'm following up on this because while I understand what Mr. Green is saying about local, as many top jobs as we have in St. Tammany Parish, and we're growing to have those top jobs, we are still considered a bedroom community. And I would venture to guess that you looked at a lot of our parents, particularly those who live, closer to the lake in the Mandeville, Fontainebleau, perhaps north, they have parents who work in New Orleans. Perhaps they work for architectural firms in New Orleans, mechanical firms out of New Orleans. Holly and Smith, their office is in Hammond. And we have many students and families and parents who went to vote for the bond renewal, whose kids go to school in St. Tammany Parish Public Schools, who we receive MFP dollars from because they come in St. Tammany Parish School. They may work just right across in Tangipahoa Parish. So if a firm chooses to locate in St. Tammany, in Tangipahoa Parish because for whatever tax reasons or whatever, or New Orleans because they have more employees that can work at their firm and therefore they can do bigger jobs. I don't think that, local is great, but like Mr. Kuzan said, we need to make sure that the firm we hire has the capacity to do the job. And I look, we have approximately, if they're all still operational now, 14 architectural firms in St. Tammany Parish. When you think about the size of our parish, I don't know how many of them are small architectural firms that haven't bid on these things because they're too big a project for them. Of these firms, how many of them are large? And how many of them will they expand if we continue and expand into St. Tammany Parish? So I don't want us to, some of these, yes, and have gotten a large chunk of the money, but they've done good work for us before. They support St. Tammany Parish Public Schools. If we keep it just to local, we're going to be we're going to put ourselves in a bind where we don't have the firms that can do the work, the quality work we want them to do, until our parish has the support of all the employees to be able to have the number of firms we possibly need. So I'm in favor of this. The firms, I see some of these firms that are on here that have done previous work for us. They've done a good job. I know they have families that live here. I know they have children that go to school here. And of the firms in the New Orleans area, they also have children that go to school here. So I don't want to, and 60% of, how much was the total budget for all of this, not including the technology and the safety and security, was 200 and something million, 280 about?
Yes, it's about 291,000 total.
291 million. So
291 million, thank you.
60% of that, 60% of that design is for people that are local. 40% are people who are not in St. Tammany Parish, but doesn't mean they don't support St. Tammany Parish. So I'd just like to remind us of that.
Thank you.
Ms. Fauntleroy.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. I just want to clarify, Ms. Tipton. Okay, I'm all for local deference in anything, but it seems to me you've built that into your rubric. Like, I know when we would do purchasing when I was a principal, we could pay 10% more for something if it was to a local company. But do you know how many total points there were on your rubric?
So for the location of the firm, I think it was about 5.
Right, but total.
But we also, total.
But there were several
we
questions.
We went to 100 points.
100 points,
for
okay.
the schools and for the Discovery Center, and we worked to a lesser number for information technology and for transportation.
But you had built into more questions than just that one reference to local.
Yes.
So those local firms got those points where the Hammond firm did not get it. So they had to overcome those points in another area to be first.
That's correct.
Okay. So I guess that's what I'm trying to clarify in my head. We are favoring the local. We are giving them like bonus points for being local.
Mm-hmm.
So do you happen to know, and I doubt you can just pull this out, but what is separating the local, like what's these firms that are winning, those that are from out of the parish, what is it that tips them in the points?
It may vary between different firms, but experience, depth of staffing with experience, a lot of experience with schools, recent. So
yes, I mean, I know I wrote.
These are different things that you see some differences in as you look through them.
Okay.
And they're also, just more in-depth responses in some.
There's nothing that prevent, we're giving this project to this design team, that there's nothing to say that the majority of the money, which will come in the actual building of the project, isn't going to be done by a local company, right?
There's no way to know that
right,
at this point,
exactly.
but it could be.
So just the design going to this company doesn't mean that the bulk of the money, which is the construction part, is going to necessarily go to it could very well be a local company.
Could be.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Green?
Thank you. Just a few more things I've failed to mention. Who was on the committee?
The committee consisted of staff out of construction department, myself and Mr. Menino. Also, Mr. Ron Randolph, who is purchasing director, but he sat on the Planning and Zoning Commission for the St. Tammany Parish government for over 10 years and was on a council member, I think, for a year. And then from the community, we had Mr. Kyle Cooper. He's a general contractor that does residential type work. He has children in our system. He unfortunately, the day of the meeting, came down with a terrible case of the flu. So we did have to move forward without him with a quorum. The meeting had already been called when he called from the ReadyMed. We also had Mr. Dennis Glass, who I think y'all may be familiar with from the Folsom area, who also is a big supporter of FAA. He's a general contractor, semi-retired, does mostly work on his own property. And he also is a big player with FAA and the parish fair every year. And then Ms. Maureen Clary, she has over 30 years' experience in property management and construction management with private sector type owners for large projects across the lake, but she lives in Covington. And that was the core committee. We also had added people as we dealt with transportation and information technology. We were joined by Associate Superintendent Steve Alfonso, Mr. Louis Bouillon, Chief of Information Technology, and Matthew Burmaster, Director of Transportation. And then for the Discovery Center, we shifted and included some people that represented this roundtable group for the workforce. From our staff, we had Dr. Melissa Langlois as well as Melissa Strataberger. And then we had representing Southeastern Louisiana University and Dr. Wainwright's office, Christopher Asprion. And then from North Shore Technical Community College and Chancellor Jim Carlson's office, we had Henry Skiro. From St. Tammany Health System and Ms. Joan Kaufman's office, we had Christopher Ford. And then Ashley Llewellyn, who is part of St. Tammany Economic Development Corporation. She had to decline the day of the meeting, but she was also on the committee and reviewed the qualification statements for that project. So our committee grew for that project.
And were all the committee members' weightings and scores in the rubric weighted equally? Or was there
Yeah, so
committee members
everyone-
that might have had more weight than others?
No, everybody was weighted the same. It was an average of each person's total score.
And you talked about capacity for projects and, ability to do all the work. I'm wondering if any consideration was given to, like, let's say, okay, we're going to award the STEM project to Holly. Maybe we're not going to, award them another huge project like Mandeville High School. Was any of that weighed into the consideration of how you guys looked at this?
So when the core committee came together, they did all of the school facility projects, and we met on those first as a priority, and that was a marathon kind of day. And yes, one of the criteria is the number of projects that you have with the school system, just in general, in the last 6 years. I know that in the past and in this one, as something is recommended for a firm, you tend to kind of take that into consideration with your next scores as a committee member. There are also questions about, as we've pointed out, the workload and what have you. You also figure that they're gaining workload. So some members do give that consideration as you go through all of those throughout the day, because it takes a while to do this meeting with all the scoring. So that is to hopefully give work to more firms, not just, because people do rise to the top. Somebody who's highly qualified, they rise to the top, and it is something you have to manage. When we came together for Discovery Center, that's a much larger committee. They had not been part of that or those meetings for the school facilities. So it was kind of a clean slate relative to that project.
That's good to know. And my last question, and I'll go away. Do any of the firms outside of our parish offer internships to our students?
I do not know the answer to that question.
Because I know that local ones do, and I'm just curious how they support our students and maybe give internships.
Well, many of them do have people who work for them who live in St. Tammany Parish and have families here.
Right, but I'm just wondering if they're giving architecture or engineering type
I don't know if they
internships to our
could
students.
get there from
I'm
our.
not sure. I'm not sure where our internships are for. I'm not sure, Mr. Green, but we can find out. I'm really not sure about that.
Okay.
Would everyone please vote? That passes with 7 yeas, 2 nays, and 1 abstention. Next is the construction report.
Thank you. The contractor for the gym locker room renovation at Mandeville Junior has started the HVAC units up and is now prepping the slab and laying flooring. Ceiling grid and tile, final paint finishes, and locker installation is scheduled to follow. The structural steel and movable wall partition track has been installed for Covington High ProStart renovation. They're working on masonry infill at the existing walls. New refrigerant piping has been run for the HVAC replacement for Pontchartrain Elementary and Tchefuncta Middle Schools. Exterior replacement units have been received. The contractor is waiting for the inside units to be delivered, and then we'll coordinate the change out of the units relative to long weekend or holiday timeframes. The landscaping, fencing, and gates are installed at Abney Early Childhood Center, and the contractor expects the canopy system installation to occur next week. Contractors are substantially complete with small projects at Abney Elementary Canal Crossing, the Abney Building 2 flooring replacement, Brock Elementary Library, Cypress Cove exterior, Little Oak Middle hallway flooring, Lyon Elementary bus canopy, Sawdell High walkway canopy replacement, Sawdell Junior High Student Services relocation, and also roofing projects completed are at Alton Elementary, Woodlake Elementary, Abita Middle, Shataima, and Abita Elementary. We also had wall and roof repairs at Pontchartrain Elementary, Tchefuncta Middle Schools completed. Field crews for surveyors have been on the school sites over the summer while school is out to gather survey information for the project sites for the capital improvements planned in the bond issue. And we anticipate having the stamp surveys later this month to provide to design teams with a current base site plan for the project. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? Ms. Gallagher?
So I don't know what project this is, but like there's a bunch of change orders and it just says increased cost and increased days, but it doesn't say what they're for. How would you know what those increases were for?
Which project is that for?
This
Or
is,
what
I
page?
think this is for Mandeville Junior High Gymnasium Locker Room renovations. It's the first one I saw. Like there's like 6 change orders. Some have increased days, have increased amounts, but it doesn't say what it's for. How would I find what?
Backup in the backup has the change orders that were signed, and at the top, kind of above a line that says not valid until signed, it'll say what that was for. It gives a general description
Okay,
on
I
each.
missed that. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And I guess I've asked this question before, but like some of these things, like this one says, the addition of finished face to the portion of the wall on each side of the stage, like, again, we take the low base bid, but now this thing is like $20,000 to $30,000 more than we started. And some of these things, like, I know some things are uncontrollable, like you found a busted pipe, you have to redo plumbing because it was messed up to begin with or whatever. But some of these things, that's like, how do we, like, we didn't give it to somebody else. that was $20,000 more than the low base bid, but now we're paying more than what that second place person was.
So these are items that are identified, and they come up, particularly in renovations, existing conditions that couldn't be seen and then need to be addressed. So in the particular example you gave, once the whole stage assembly was removed, the backside of the proscenium wall was found to not be completed down to the slab level. So all you could see was structure. That was not anticipated in the documents, clearly not anticipated. So we had to pay for the sheetrock and the paint and the finishing of that because it will now be seen, because we've taken the stage out.
Right, but one to say cost to extend HVAC system over to cover boys' coach's office, like, sometimes I'm like, that wasn't taken into consideration at first, like you knew it didn't have AC to begin with, so now in the middle of this whole thing, and these are the little things that, and I'm not saying it's all of them, that like, how did this get missed, so to speak, in the quote? Like, that should have just been in there.
And that is, every one of these has their own reason. So that particular room, which is a coach's office, was being used as a weight room. It was not initially part of the scope necessarily, but then when we got there, the school had cleared everything out, and we've done some work in there, and we were able to extend a duct over and put it on the new AC system.
Okay. That's all I got.
And all of these change order items that come in, all of the costs are broken down. They're reviewed by the architects and the engineers before they're recommended to our office. And then in our office, we often send them back with questions that may end up in changes, either down or up, but before we even recommend them to the superintendent to be included in a change order.
Right, like I said, this all went back to like little things, like I'm reading this one, to change the hardware, it costs us, or whatever, these update locking functions, like people just changed their mind in the middle, so was really the second place bidder if this has to be added to it when we change our mind in the middle of a project?
I understand changing our mind or changing the function of locks. The hardware is very expensive, but we were trying to do what the school had determined that they needed when we got involved in
Right,
the
and that's all I'm
discussion.
saying is those types of changes, maybe the school pays for that, not general funds, because the bid was based on this. You decided to change hardware, which doesn't change structure or anything like that, and now the second place bidder could have gotten this job and all these
Well,
change orders or whatever.
That could have cost them too.
Right.
It doesn't change. What is indicated in the job, the specifications, the drawings, that's checked. If it was covered, then it's not in a change. If it's something that is changed and does cost more, and they show that, that is what results in a change order.
Okay.
If we choose to do it.
All right, next, from our Finance Department, Ms. Prevost, may we please hear your financial update?
Yeah, good evening. We're getting very close to final closeout of fiscal '25. We will final closeout August 31st. Revenues for fiscal '25 as of today are $3.9 million more than budgeted revenue, so that's very good news. Property taxes came in higher than projected, and sales tax revenues have increased over the last 6 months by approximately $5 million, so that is very good news. Of course, these gains are offset by a loss in MFP of $4.6 million due to a loss of students in fiscal '25, and then as local funding goes up, MFP goes down. Overall expenditures for fiscal '25 were much lower than projected at beginning of year. Some of the reasons are a health insurance surplus of approximately $8 million to date. That will be added back to general fund. Many budgets, such as repairs and maintenance, materials and supplies, professional development, professional services, had actual spending up to 30% lower than projected. We are still paying invoices for fiscal '25, and we do not have final results for health insurance claims for the summer. But all funds that we normally have to extra fund at year end because they are in deficit almost every year are all in the black this year. So we are not having to fund those, even though I did budget that. So that helped decrease the budget as well. So as a result, I'm very proud to state that we are projecting as of today a $10 to $11 million surplus for fiscal '25. Since we had projected an $8 million deficit at the beginning of the year, this is a tremendous achievement. All departments district-wide are to be commended for cutting costs in fiscal '25 so we could achieve the surplus. The final surplus for fiscal '25 will be determined around September 15th. One half of the final surplus will be deposited into the Employee Salary Reserve Fund. An equal payment will be calculated for all employees who meet the criteria for the payment per the salary schedule and will be paid with their November 15th paycheck. So good news for employees. I have provided you with an electronic and hard copies of the fiscal 26 budgets and the budget message. The budgets and budget message are also posted on the website. I'm happy to announce that we are projecting a balanced budget for fiscal 26 based on current information. Highlights of the new budget are included in the budget message. Revenues were budgeted with little or no increases. The employee raises of $2,550 for certificated and $1,750 for support were budgeted, and approximately 47 positions when compared to last year's general fund budget were eliminated through attrition. That's resulting in around $6 million in savings. Decreases in costs of benefits for retirement systems due to rate reductions and workers' compensation continues to decline are also factored in. The public budget hearing will be held on August 21st at 6 p.m., and the board member discussion and approval will be at the September board meetings. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Mr. Kuzian.
Recently, we were saying we will have a deficit for the end of this year?
Well, I've been trending you, telling you I didn't think we would. So when you have an $8 million surplus in
But
health insurance-
this is just a compliment
Oh, yes,
for
yes,
saying,
yeah.
we're going it's not, this is a compliment here.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely a district-wide undertaking. Everyone cut their budgets. The superintendent and Mr. Alfonso took a hard look at every position, and those were people were not replaced throughout the year, and then culminating in the $6 million for the new budget. Revenues came in higher, which is always good news. So, yeah, very good news all around. And then our budget for 26 is balanced.
Just want to say to everyone who had a hand in this surplus, thank you.
Dr. Peterson?
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to say that just a couple of weeks ago, we were looking at our budget, and we thought we were going to have less money, possibly even being in the red. And we almost made a decision not to feed our kids as well as we could. And I'm glad we stayed with it on track, because now we find out 2 weeks later, we can do all of this to still be on track. So I'm afraid that we might make a decision at some point, and then the facts come in later. I wish we could get the facts first before we make sensitive statements and decisions like that.
Right.
Because this is certainly important. And I know, Ms.
I'm going to have to clarify that answer.
Sure, go ahead.
Because I never said we were in deficit at that point. I was saying we were trending upward and that we were probably going to be positive. I've been saying that for 3 months.
Yes, you did.
I said
it wasn't on your part. It was on our
The cost of
part.
the program was $1.6 million, and that is factored into the 26 budget. So we were only talking about cost, not increasing our deficit. The deficit for food service is going to increase. Sure. So it's just more funding coming out of general fund. So the decision that y'all made was based on that information, not on whether we had a deficit.
Oh, absolutely it was. Yeah. And I think the decision to do what we did do was actually what we got from you.
Right.
But there was some disagreement among board members at that point in time as to how we should proceed. But I'm just so glad we did the right thing then. Thank you.
Ms. Hanson?
I concur with Mr. Kuzan and Dr. Peterson, as well as all the others. But can you repeat what you said about workers' compensation?
Yeah, workers' compensation, Brian Davis has been an excellent job. He's been working it for like 3 years now, maybe? 3? How long have you been here? So our rates continue to decline. So the rate we charge for each dollar of payroll is able to decline because we're paying out less in claims. So yeah, that's been, I think it's down like 500,000 again this coming year, what we're projecting. So that's very good news.
Well, I just want to give kudos to Mr. Davis
great
as
job
well
on
as
that.
to you for all of you who have your hand in that, as you say, and being diligent, because workers' compensation is money that if we have to pay a higher rate, that's taxpayer dollars we have to pay. And so thank you for your persistence and diligence on that. Thank you.
Ms. Previs, would you like to continue?
So the monthly financial statements for June were provided to you. Of course, these are not final results for June. I will bring back the final once we close out the year. It'll probably be in October. But this is just a preliminary statement for June that I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from board members?
The monthly purchasing report was provided to you, and Mr. Randolph is here to answer any questions.
Questions? All right, moving along. Next, we have public comments. Thank you, Mr. Alfonso. First, we have Mr. Osborne.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Superintendent Jabbia, staff. Remember your why. This statement is often used during PD sessions, and it can be a sensitive question for individuals, depending on their experiences working in education. At this first official school board meeting of the new school year, I would like to ask that everyone in this room, myself included, do our best to work constructively to help preserve that why of each teacher and school employee in our system. There are many elements that can erode an individual's very personal reason for choosing to work in public education, and we never want these elements to replace that why with the question, why am I still here? We're still in the honeymoon period of 2025, 2026, and even honeymoons can have their hiccups, lost luggage, canceled flights, even resorts can have copier issues behind the scenes. So far this year has brought the challenge of a new evaluation system and block scheduling, among other concerns at the individual, school, and district levels. In the face of these challenges, let's do the work together of helping to support the magic that draws people to public education. Let's do our collective best, board, administration, and federation, to listen and address concerns to truly support the people who support the kids. If we can do that, we can provide that solid foundation that helps employees persevere when times get tough. And if asked their why at the start of the next school year, let us hope their genuine response, that gut level response, is to smile rather than flinch. Thank you.
With no further business, I declare this meeting adjourned.